But welcome, welcome. It is, as I mentioned, it's 1 o'clock Central Standard Time on a Monday, and this is our monthly SEO Q&A call. So today is July 7th, which is fun because it's the absolute latest day that it can be for the first Monday of the month, the 7th. So that's very interesting, cool. It's also the first monthly live stream in the second half of 2025. So hopefully everyone who is here, who is watching this, you're halfway through your annual 2025 goals. And if you're not, well, then let's chat about it and see what's going on. So Destiny, my right-hand woman, who is awesome, and I rely on her all the time, she is here and she's just going to help us keep track of the questions. So she has a couple of questions queued. If you want to ask a question in the Zoom, go ahead and do the hand raising thing. And otherwise, you can post the question in the chat. I don't know if we can see the YouTube questions or not, because I don't know how to actually find the live stream. I don't know. I don't know. You'd think I would know. Does anyone know? Let's go to my channel. If I go to my channel, that's me. Stop playing that. And if I go to videos, so it's not on there. So it's not on there. So I don't know if it's live or not. So if you're on YouTube and this is in fact live, then I don't know. I guess you just can't ask questions because I don't know how to see it.
I
Yeah,
have
like I
the
said,
YouTube chat open on mine, but
you do. Excellent.
unlisted.
Well,
I
then,
don't know if people will see it right now.
well, no problem. We'll get there. No problem. But if you are on YouTube and you want to ask a question, and we can't figure out how to get to your question, then join the school community and you can join the Zoom here and actually be on this with me and everyone else here. And yeah, we'll get it sorted. I'm trying to figure out where the live tab is. I can't find it. Well, I'm going to stop watching or I'm going to stop looking for it because we're all here now. And it's been 5 minutes, so plenty of time to get people connected. So let's see. Destiny, have you sent me the first question? You have. You have. Excellent. Unlisted. How do I change that? Can anyone find it if it's unlisted? Let me see. Privacy. I do really kind of want to change that. Can I change that real quick? If it takes me more than a few seconds, I'm going to give up. I'm going to give up. Monetization. I don't really care about that. Who can send messages? Fine. Message delay. Fine. Oh, there it is. Public. Done. Save. Excellent. So now I might actually be for realsies live. Anyway, I'm going to stop trying to figure it out. Let's go for the first question that we had. Set to public. Excellent. All right. First question from Jay. What's the strategy for getting a local business owner ranked in a second city? Do they need a second office address and a second GBP? This is a very long question and a very short one. So yes, it is very difficult to rank a GBP in a city different from the address that the GBP is located in. So if you did want to do that, say you were in a suburb of Denver or a suburb of Chicago, and you wanted to rank in Chicago or in Denver, you would you can potentially do it if you build enough trust and relevance to overcome the ones that are closer. Remember, Google Maps, the Google Map algorithm has three factors. It has trust, which is basically how many quality links do you have. It has relevance, which is how much quality content do you have that Google understands, and proximity. How close are you to the searcher doing the search? And when the city changes, that's a massive hit to proximity. So you can overcome that by just building up a ton of trust,
AI,
building up a
SEO.
ton of relevance. But it's very
How to
hard.
get the
And
most
for
out of it.
most businesses, especially since we live in an era, who knows how long it's going to be, but we live in an era where commercial office space is relatively inexpensive. It's often going to be less expensive. I'm going to go ahead and mute that guy. It's often less expensive to get a second GBP and set up a second location on, and then you would have a multi-office website. where each GBP landing page, you would basically treat it like a mini homepage. And you'd build out that core 30 concept below each one of your GBPs. Okay. Now, someone in the group asked, hey, well, I have 10 locations. So does that mean I need to build the core 300, 30 for each location? And the answer is probably not, but yes, to start, right? So what we talk about is as you're building out the core 30, what you're doing is building out a lot of topical relevance and a little bit of geographic relevance. So what we always do, and you guys, I would encourage you to do this too, we always are watching the local rank map, right? So we're using LeadSnap. LeadSnap does local rank maps. It does a great job of them. So we're using LeadSnap and generating those local rank maps, and we're keeping an eye on them. Because at some point, especially if you have 10 locations, even if you have 2, 3, 4 locations, at some point, you're going to have enough topical relevance that you won't need to keep building, up topical relevance, right? So that means you don't need to keep building the core 30 for the additional locations. You can just skip straight toward building trust and geographic relevance. Perfect. Hopefully, Jay, that answered your question. Let me know if not. Mark, go ahead. What's going on, man? Welcome to the stream.
Yeah, thank you, Caleb. Appreciate it. So I've got a kind of a really complicated question. I think it's complicated.
Oh,
Maybe
I
for
love
you it's
complicated
not.
questions. Let's do it, man.
Okay, so
Now you got me excited.
yeah,
Don't
right.
disappoint. Don't disappoint.
Yeah, I have an HVAC client who is adding new services. So he's going to be adding electrical renovations, contracting and plumbing to his service business. Currently, he's in a smaller town of about 100,000 people with a
Okay.
much larger town 50 miles away. He ranks fairly good on Google Business in the smaller town, but has been trying to break into the larger town 50 miles away with very little success.
Sure.
Looking at his website, there's nothing done for local SEO. He has none of the service pages, none of the techniques. But my question is, when he switches over to this new service, should he take the Google Business profile that he's got in a small town that's ranking okay, that we can improve very, very quickly? Or should he start a new Google Business profile either in the larger town and change the names? Like should he have a different Google Business page for each service? Like, how hard is it to rank in all 4 of those categories in the top 3 Google Map Pack? I guess that's kind of the question.
Gotcha. So right now he has a smaller location, 1 GBP, and he's ranking well for all of the desired terms.
He's only doing 1 right now. HVAC.
He's only doing 1. Is
He's
he getting
adding
calls?
the other 3 services in the next 3 months.
Is he getting calls?
Not necessarily. I mean, yes, but not like he could be.
Sure.
But it's
Okay,
it's number 2 in the market. When I look
Gotcha.
at all the other competitors, he's the second.
So there's a couple of different ways to approach this. So depending on how relevant those different services are to one another. So if they are sort of relevant, like for example, HVAC and
Plumbing, electrical, and renovations is what he's doing. It's all home service.
So yeah, HVAC and plumbing. Often, somebody who's a licensed plumber is also licensed to do HVAC stuff. Same person does both. So when you look at GBPs, you'll see a lot of GBPs that are ranking really well for HVAC. They're also ranking really well for plumbing. So in that case, choose whichever service you like most, whichever one he wants to do the most, which is usually going to be the most profitable one. That's the primary category, because the primary category he'll rank for first. Then make like HVAC the secondary category and follow the core 30 process, right? So you're going to have the little paragraph about HVAC, 75 to 100 words. You're going to link to a page specifically about HVAC, and then you're going to have a ton of services about HVAC, 15, 20 services about HVAC. You're going to create a page for each of those and link them to the HVAC service page and all that. So it'll end up being more than 30 pages because you're basically doing it for a plumber and for an HVAC person. So you probably have more like 40, 50, 60 pages. But if you build that out, you can rank for multiple services with the same GBP. Usually that's the approach that we recommend taking, 1 GBP, and just build out all of this relevance. And that's the topical relevance that you'll be working to build out. And your second part of your question is around, hey, how do I rank for the city that's 50 miles away?
Well, it's actually going to be 4 services. So he's going to have a remodeling
Yep.
company and
So just
electrical
keep doing the
company
same thing, right? So
under
work on
one
building the
GBP.
relevance for the plumbing, then build the relevance for the HVAC, then build the relevance for the remodeling, and build the relevance for whatever the fourth one is. So as you're doing that, right? So you're going to build your secondary category. So a little paragraph on the GBP landing page, 75 to 100 words about whatever that secondary category is. Then you'll link from your GBP landing page, which is probably the home page. Then you'll link from there to a page dedicated to that secondary category, right? So you're going to have your, let's say plumbing is what he really loves. He loves plumbing. So plumbing is your homepage. Then you're going to have HVAC. Then you're going to have whatever the other ones are, remodeling, and then whatever the fourth one. And the homepage is going to link to all 3 of those. Right? So now you have your 4 GBP categories, and you can come up with more categories if you want, but now we have your 4 GBP categories. So each one of those, because they're so different, you're probably going to want 20 or 30 services for each one of those categories.
Right.
And then those category pages are going to link to all of those service pages one at a time. So this is how you're going to end up with just a really big website, because you need a lot of topical relevance to convince Google to show you for all of these different primary categories, which is really what you're doing. You're trying to get shown for all these different primary categories, right? So once you've built all that out and you're watching your rank map, okay? And once your rank map is, the rule of thumb we use is somewhere around a third of it looks green, a third of it's in the top 3. That's your sign that you have enough topical relevance for that service, right? So in this case, you're going to, at the minimum, set up rank tracking for your 4 primary categories. So plumber, city name; HVAC, city name; remodeling, city name; and whatever your fourth one is.
Electrician.
Electrician, perfect.
Yeah.
Electrician, city name. So you're going to set those 4 rank tracks up at a minimum, centered on the GBP, and you're just going to keep an eye on them. And you're going to be cranking out this content for all of the different services. And you should see, especially for the relatively small area, you should see that the rank map turns pretty green before you finish building like 100 pages, before you finish building all of it. And then you're basically done. Then you might start to think about topical relevance, like individual little points. Maybe you have, a little bit of the map isn't quite in the top 3. So then you start to build geographical content about that section that's not quite in the top 3 yet. And you do that and you'll end up pretty good on those 4 services in that one GBP location. And then if you want to add another GBP location, you're basically going to do the exact same thing, but you're going to get a second GBP. You're going to create a GBP landing page, which will be an internal page. You're not going to repeat and use the home page again. Now you create a new GBP landing page, and it'll do the exact same structure, right? The same 80 to 100 pages underneath it with the same services underneath your new GBP landing page. So it's basically you have your home page and everything that lives underneath it, and then you have your GBP landing page and everything that lives underneath it, and they're going to be on the same domain. The secondary GBP landing page is going to be one level below because it's obviously you only have one home page. But then you'll build the whole thing out. You'll again watch your rank position. When you get the sign that you have enough topical relevance, then you're going to shift and start building geographical relevance. And remember, every one of these pages that you create, you're going to source at least one link to every one. We never post content without a link. Otherwise, Google thinks it's slop. So we're going to at least post a link to every single one of these pages. And usually the ones that we use are, decent, like medium quality PBNs, because that's fairly cost effective. And we're just using these links as a signal to Google that it's not AI generated slop, right? The actual links that you will use to build trust, because remember, the content is your relevance, your actual location is your proximity, and we haven't really talked about trust. So the actual links that you'll use to build trust are going to be these like local, very powerful links, like you'll join the local chamber of commerce, sports leagues sponsorships, festival sponsorships, and those will point to the GBP landing page for the relevant city. And that trust buildup will also push you a long way toward ranking. Am I making sense with all that, Mark? I know that was a lot.
No, that does. My other question is, he's got the GBP page he has in the smaller town is under the old name. He's going to change names. So we just change that page as opposed to start a new one, right?
Yeah, I would just change the name and
Right.
be careful because when you change the business name, there are a few things that if you change them, it makes it likely that you're going to trigger a re-verification. The big one is if it's a service area business, don't try to rank a service area business, right? Ranking a service area business sucks. Don't do that.
Okay.
So before you do anything with the service area business, you're going to want to change it to a visible address. Legitimately, and we've had a lot of clients who say like, "Oh, I don't want my address to be visible. I don't want people to see the address." Well, it's often less expensive to rent office space than to do the additional work necessary to rank a service area business, right? You just lose a ton of trust without the visible address. So you want the visible address. So anyway, if you have a service area business, you add the visible address, very, very likely to trigger a re-verification. The second one that's likely to do it is if it, why does it say I'm speaking Spanish? I'm not speaking Spanish. Why did this pop up and say you're speaking Spanish? Anyway, that's gone now. The second most likely thing is changing the business name. So if you change the business name, it is likely to trigger a re-verification. A little bit less than even, right? A little bit less than 50-50 it'll happen, depending on how old it is, how trusted it is. And then the next thing is categories, right? So if you go in and in 20 minutes you add 5 categories and change the business name, you're probably going to trigger a re-verification. So these big changes we also typically will do over time and not all at once. And
Okay.
before we make them, you're going to want to make sure your client or you, depending on whose GBP it is ready to record the video re-verification. You don't want to be like, oh crap, I triggered a re-verification. Now I need to spend a week getting my stuff together to record it. I mean, what a wasted week, right? So get everything ready so that you can record it, 20 minutes after you see that it's been triggered. And it can trigger a re-verification. It can also trigger a suspension. So if it triggers a suspension, you also want to make sure you have your paperwork and everything else ready to go so that you can submit it to get that suspension lifted.
Okay. So if we've got 3 to 4 months to make this change because his licensing for some of these other services won't come in for another 3 months, where should we start? Should we start by adding the category? Should we start by changing the name? It's already a location basis, not area service, so we don't have that problem.
Perfect. Yeah, I would change the name first, especially what I would really want to see. What I would really want to see is that you have the license paperwork before you add that category.
Okay.
Just because a lot of those trades, it's if you start to actually rank, then it's pretty common that your competitors will report the GBP. So if you actually start to rank and you don't have a license to do that work and your competitors start to report you, then it's going to be hard to get that suspension lifted because you don't have the license to actually do it yet. So generally, I would wait until you have a license if it's a type of work that requires a license, because it's kind of 50-50, right? Where if you wait too long, like if you're not ranking, you're not going to get any calls. But if you are ranking, then you're going to get suspended, right?
Right.
All right. So Dhruva asks, since ChatGPT is using Bing, would you recommend a Bing Places listing for e-commerce site/brand? Yes, is the short version of this. So ChatGPT doesn't give you search results. Obviously, we all know this. We probably use ChatGPT. Google gives you search results and ChatGPT gives you recommendations. So I'm going to take Dhruva's question to ask more about how does ChatGPT decide what businesses to recommend, right? Because it's quite different from Google. We've talked about the 3 factors that Google looks at. ChatGPT doesn't really look at those, right? ChatGPT doesn't look at links. ChatGPT doesn't care about links. It's not crawling the internet looking for links. What ChatGPT cares about is mentions, right? So if your business is mentioned in an article, but you don't get a link, Google doesn't care. But if your business is mentioned in an article, but there's no link, ChatGPT does care. Now, on the vice versa, if you get a link, but it's generic anchor text, like click here or something like that, well, ChatGPT doesn't care because it's not a mention, but Google does care because it's a link. So ideally, look for just plain branded links if you have to choose one or the other, because that's going to be a mention and a link. And ChatGPT is hooked up with Bing's API. So ChatGPT, it can use Google, and often when it's like searching the web, it is searching with Google. which I just think is hilarious. But most of the API connections that ChatGPT uses are Bing based. So if you have a WordPress website that scores 95 on page speed insights, it has a domain rating of 70, but you've never been mentioned anywhere and you don't have a Bing listing, you'll be ranked in the top 3 for Google Maps, but ChatGPT will never recommend your business, right? So for ChatGPT, we need to, especially the single most important one is the Bing for Business. You need to get the Bing for Business. But even beyond that, there's a set of these citations. We call them super citations, just to differentiate them from what most people think of as citations. So that's going to be, right, Bing for Business, Apple Maps, the BMW navigation system, the Audi navigation system, Yelp, the Better Business Bureau, all of these types of super citations that are really valuable, but kind of a pain to get, right? You can't just go create a Bing for Business. You have to use an email address and get the email address verified. And similar for Apple Maps, you have to do all that stuff. So we started using a tool about a month or so ago at my agency. Tool is called LeadSnap. And the next question is actually LeadSnap versus Local Dominator, because we used to use Local Dominator for rank maps. LeadSnap also does rank maps. It's the exact same price as Local Dominator, so no problem there. LeadSnap also has a ton of really good GBP management services, features, but the core thing that's exciting about LeadSnap is that for $20 a month, LeadSnap has API connections to 60 or so of these super citations, right? So you join LeadSnap, it's $59 for 10 GBPs, I think, and then for $20 a month, once you connect your GBP, LeadSnap with an API connection will copy all the information in your GBP over to Bing, Apple Maps, the BMW, Audi navigation systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you get all these super citations immediately and very quickly. That's huge for getting ChatGPT to recommend your local business, right? For most local businesses, joining the Chamber of Commerce, a couple of sponsorships, like the local sports team sponsorships, and then this LeadSnap super citation, that's usually enough to be in the top 3 recommendations for LeadSnap in most metropolitan areas. I do have an affiliate code for LeadSnap. I'm not doing that. And one thing I say, right? So in the 10 years I've been running an SEO agency, I have switched tools 3 times, right? We switched tools for ChatGPT, we switched tools for high level, and now we've switched tools for LeadSnap, right? So I'll drop the affiliate link. If you don't want to use it, that's fine. Don't worry about it. But it will give you half off your first 3 months if you use the affiliate link. A couple of good questions here. The citations are permanent. So if you stop paying the $20 a month, the citations still stay there. LeadSnap does not go back and delete them, which is amazing, right? Really cool that most citation software will go back and like delete all the citations if you stop paying them. LeadSnap won't. They're there permanently as long as they're accurate. So if you update your information or something, then you might need to do it again, right? So anyway, we've been liking that tool. It helps a lot. Okay, so let's see. Next question. Robert has his hand raised. Excellent, Robert. What's going on?
Hey, Caleb.
How you doing, man?
Great. How are you?
Yeah, good.
I appreciate you guys so much. I learned so much. Thank you.
Love hearing that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I mostly deal with concrete contractors. They don't know their way around a computer at all. They hate the idea of having to verify their GBP.
Yeah.
Also, I have always advised against them using their home address as a business because I've heard there's a good chance they can just get suspended or whatever from Google, and I've actually had that happen before. Do people have good luck with using home addresses occasionally?
Yeah. So I did a YouTube video about this a while ago. It's also in the school classroom. There's like a 45-second AI audit that I want you to run. And if you do that, then I unlock the module. It's the Facebook ads module. In that module, I give you all of the follow-ups. I give you the full demographics, the full targeting, the ad copy. And I'm like 90% sure I even give you the contract that we used. And the reason that's all in there is because we ran that ad campaign and we got 97 plumbers in like 6 months to sign up for it. And our offer, we had to basically start by getting them to get their GBP verified. And this was an enormous pain when we first started doing this, but we got better at it and fine-tuned our process. So like the very quick version of how we do this, we usually will start with a press release and sourcing these like regular citations. So not the lead snap ones I was just talking about, but we'll start with a press release, regular citations, and we'll make sure they have a website up that matches the GBP or the future GBP. They don't have one yet. And then we'll usually let that age for about a month, right? Google hates new things. So then we'll let the press release and the citations and the new website age for about a month, and then we'll work on trying to claim the GBP. It usually will almost always trigger a video verification. There are a couple of other tricks you can do to potentially get around that. I haven't seen any issues with it being a personal residence. So usually in that 30-day window between when they sign up and we do the press release and everything, and we actually try to get them to record the GBP, what we're going to do in that 30-day window is we're going to ship them some business cards, right? And the business cards will have the exact match name that's on their driver's license, the name of the business, the address of the business, and the phone number of the business. We'll ship them like a magnetic thing that they can put on their truck. Same thing, not their personal name, but we'll have the business name, business address, business phone number, and then we'll get a little yard sign, business name, business address, business phone number, maybe the website. And 30 days is enough for those things to arrive. I think the total cost for that stuff is like $60 or $70 for all of it. And then they record the GBP video. And yeah, when they put the little sign in, they put the placard on their car or truck or whatever. And it's kind of funny. The review on Google's end is manual of these videos. And I'm pretty well convinced that who's ever doing these reviews, obviously I'm sure it's a large team that Google has doing it. They have like a checkbox, and every time they see an element, they just check it and then they move on. So we had a plumber in Philadelphia, and he was doing this. And in order to get you first have to get the video uploaded. And to get it uploaded, you have to move slowly so there's no blur. If there's a bunch of blur, you'll fail the upload. And there can't be any faces, right? Because if there's a face, you'll fail the upload. Google won't accept an upload of the face. So this poor guy, he had to do this at like 5:30 in the morning because his primary residence was in downtown Philadelphia, and people are walking around all the time, and he can't get any faces in it. So anyway, one of the things that's on Google's list is they want to see tools of the trade, right? So he's trying to get a plumber, and he had an office location outside of the city, but he lived in Philadelphia, so he wanted his GBP in Philadelphia, and he didn't have any of his tools with him. So he put the placard on his is like a Scion, right? Not even like a work truck. It was like a Scion XB. And then in the back seat, he put a hammer and a screwdriver. And he recorded the video, less than 2 minutes long. You know, you show your car, you hit the key fob to show that you control the car. You open the door, driver's license, business card on the passenger seat. You show the back seat with all of the tools of the trade. You go to the front door, you demonstrate it's locked, then you unlock it with the key. You walk in, you have the website pulled up, stuff like that. Okay. Obviously more details in the specific training, but that worked, got it verified, right? So the tools of the trade, and yeah, a hammer and a screwdriver, that was tools of the trade for the plumber. So that's generally how we do it. And for primary residence, you have the little yard sign. That's usually enough to get it. If it gets suspended later because a competitor reported it, then if it's a real business there, and it should be, you have your license, with the matching information, you have your paperwork, your documentation, all of that with the matching paperwork, so you can submit the appeal for the suspension. You can even put the yard sign out there and submit another photo with that appeal that has the yard sign in there. Worst case scenario, if you have a really motivated competitor who keeps like submitting the suspension, why is it loading whiteboard? I don't know what that means. Close. Who keeps submitting the suspension or keeps reporting you, you can always just leave the yard sign in the front yard, and that will usually remedy it. Because especially if Google has a street view come by and it has the image of your yard sign, then it's much harder to get it suspended. Hopefully that was helpful, Robert. Was that your question?
That was part of my question. You just really went off on a tangent, though.
It's
You must
true.
have
I
had
do
lots of
that.
issues with this. Well, would you recommend me then informing my clients that, hey, I think we should show your home address? It's going to need a re-verification, obviously, if I change the address on the GBP, so that's not just, a service business and they have a location. Do you recommend doing that?
Yeah, the work that I have, the split testing that we've done, stuff that I've seen online from sources that I trust, in general, it is 50 to 70% harder to rank a service area business than a visible address. So what that means is if you think it's going to cost $1,000 a month in SEO to rank this business, if it's service area, then it's going to be more like $1,500 to $1,700 a month because you need more relevance, you need more trust to overcome the fact that it's a service area business. So that's why I say, right, if you're in a larger city, maybe you're looking at $2,500, $3,000 a month in SEO cost, man, it's going to be less expensive to get an office location and rank that visible address than the additional work you're going to need to do to rank a service area business.
So you don't suggest them using their home address if they
No, I
haven't
100%
already.
would rather do that. Yeah. The easiest thing, like most of my clients are just using their home address, and that works great.
Okay. And
But
it
if
so
they don't want
it's
their home
likely to
address
either get
visible,
suspended. Right. No, I don't think they don't care. None of those guys care.
perfect.
Anyway, yeah. So the option is if they don't want it visible, then to get an office. Um, but it will likely get suspended or need a re-verification just for changing the click
Better than
like the
even
little
odds.
toggle, right?
When you add the visible address, now we just had a client do it last week where they added the address back to a service area business and it did not trigger a re-verification. So it's not guaranteed, but
Okay.
I would say better than even odds. When you add an address back, it triggers a re-verification.
Okay. And then one more question. One of my clients, he was setting up his GBP for the very first time this morning, and I don't know what he did, but it got suspended. Like he's a legitimate business or whatever, but it got suspended. He's never had a GBP before, but he's had a business for 20 years. So like, should he do a new one? Like just
No,
start a whole new
submit
one?
the appeal paperwork. I mean,
Okay.
if it's a real business and it's been that way for that long, you shouldn't have an issue. Like you'll want the license information, the insurance information. Those are big ones. Utility statements, a photo. If he has a sign in front, then a photo with the sign out front. Anything else like a lease agreement, anything that he might have that has the business name on it. Submit that as part of the appeal. That's super, super common, right? I said we got like 97 GBPs in a few months. I would say probably a third of them were suspended within the first week of getting the GBP verified. It's super
Gotcha.
common that,
Okay.
I don't know, something in Google's system will like trigger a suspension very quick. And I don't know why, but they're usually not a big deal to get that first suspension lifted.
All right. Thanks so much, Caleb.
Perfect. All right, so let's see. Virgil, when you build another location, do we need to build out the location pages to match the new GBP listing? Can I place it onto the same website? So yeah, you definitely put it on the same website. So we talked about this a little bit with Mark. So I'm not going to repeat everything I said, Virgil, but basically your second location will have its own landing page, right? You're not going to share landing pages. You're going to have a second landing page for the second location. And the target keyword for that is going to be primary category city name, right? Same target keyword as your first location, except presumably the city name has changed because it's in a different city. And then you're going to build out the exact same structure with all the services, all the categories. And if you need more geographical relevance, you're going to start building out location content focused on geographical landmarks for the second location. If you want more, Virgil, you'll be able to watch the replay. Go back to where Mark and I were chatting about this question. All right, perfect. Jennifer, for service area businesses, what kinds of local addresses work? For a mobile repair service, we had a local address, a mailbox service, but Google will not verify no matter how many videos we made. Right. So Google won't verify in mailbox service, right? It has to be a residence. It has to be an office, like mailboxes, PO box, mailbox service, a UPS box. Those don't work. A virtual office location can work, but those are usually pretty hard to get those to work just because a lot of virtual office locations just has a ton of GBPs at that same address. And there's some, hidden limit to how many GBPs Google will allow on a single address. So yeah, a virtual office can work, but usually what I've done with a lot of clients who want a second location is just come in there, just find office space, right? Office space today, post-COVID, is usually very expensive. We had a client who got office space in like downtown Denver for $500 a month, right? It doesn't need to be a big office, just whatever smallest office you can find in that area is usually enough. 500 bucks a month, a couple of jobs, depending on what service they're in, will easily pay for that. So it's usually well worth it. But yeah, mailbox won't work. Those used to work. I remember back in 2017, 2018, complaining about how hard it was to get GBPs verified. And oh boy, if I could only go back to how easy it was back then. You used to be able to do it with UPS store mailboxes, with PO boxes. Can't do it anymore. Sorry. Okay, let's see. Ian is next up. I'm helping my wife. That's good for you, Ian. I like to see that. I'm helping my wife rank across several states for functional medicine, city-state. Okay. I've created 190 pages with varying text. My question is outside of on-page SEO. How can I help her boost a local website authority? Okay. So I'm guessing you don't have GBPs. So the first challenge that you're going to have with this type of strategy, and don't get me wrong, this can work, right? This is basically how Angie's List got so big, and a bunch of the other service providers like that. If you're targeting a keyword that has a local maps result, but you don't have a GBP, you're playing for 20 to 30% of the traffic, right? Around 5 to 10% is going to go to the ad on top, and then 60 to 70% is going to go to one of the map listings. So you're already, like, if you're in the #1 position, which normally gets like a 15% click-through rate, you're going to get a 15% click-through rate of a 20 or 30% of the traffic. So you're already looking at maybe in the #1 spot, getting 4 to 5% of the traffic if you're ranked #1, okay? So that's the first thing. Just be aware that it's just going to take an insane amount of these pages ranking to get a reasonable lead volume from it. Beyond that, so if you're non-local, then proximity is a lot less important, but definitely having those targeted city pages is very helpful. Remember, the big thing you're probably missing is trust. And when we talk about Google and we use the word trust, that's code for links, right? You need links. And I talked with Mark about these local links to get. I might start to seek those out for a lot of these, especially if for some of if the cities are a little bit larger that you're really, really interested in. I might start to look for that type of chamber of commerce in that area. Super common. I have a personal injury attorney, and we just needed so much trust. I joined every chamber of commerce within 70 miles of their office location. And that was a massive amount of trust, and they've been ranked in the top 3 for like 6 years now. And I just pay for, I don't know, 6 or 7 Chamber of Commerce memberships, which is nothing for a personal injury firm, right? So, I mean, it's going to be joining Chamber of Commerce. It's going to be sponsoring local sports leagues. It's going to be doing local festivals, all of this stuff to build up this trust. Beyond that, on a non-local site, you can start to just build up authority links, right? So for local SEO, we don't usually look at authority links much because frankly, we don't need to, but you're basically doing a non-local local SEO. So in this case, you're probably going to start to need a lot of these authority links, right? Where, you start to find guest posts, niche edits, blog outreach links, in addition to the regular PBN stuff. So going for this type of strategy you're talking about, Ian, you're just going to need to budget a solid amount for link building. That's the short version of that question. Man, I can see in the chat, Don is really upset about something. He's all in caps. Anyway, next question. Name is Cash V. Okay. What's your top 3 client acquisition systems? All right. Okay, here we go. Top 3. All right, so let's do it. Here we go. Okay, so the short version, the short answer is that it depends. And that's not helpful to anyone on this, I know. But it really does, right? So I got my start on Upwork. I built my first 7-figure agency on Upwork. Almost all of my clients were from Upwork or referrals from Upwork clients. That really worked well for me. And the reason that worked well I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Wolf of Wall Street. There's this famous scene where Leonardo DiCaprio is asking people to sell him a pen, and people are like, "Oh, look at the color of this pen. Look at how nice it clicks." Blah blah blah. And that's not what he wanted, right? Leo wanted them to sell the pen based on the results, based on what you could write with the pen, right? The stories you'd be able to write, the things like that. So when we think about it, if you're talking to a local business owner and you're trying to pitch them on SEO, if you start going in there and start telling them about all the things you're going to do for SEO, you're not going to get that close. You're not going to get that sale because the local business owner doesn't care about SEO. The local business owner wants calls, right? So the sales script, which, by the way, in that Facebook ads module, we also include the sales script. So the sales script that you would use for a local business owner is very different than you would use for Upwork, because the person from Upwork, they posted on Upwork, "Hey, I need SEO." So when you get on the phone with them, you don't need to convince them that SEO is valuable, that SEO will be helpful for their business. They know all that. They've made that decision on their own. They posted a job asking for SEO. So all you need to do when you get on the phone with someone from Upwork is convince them that you know what the hell you're talking about with SEO. And believe me, I can talk about SEO. My wife tells me I need to shut up about it. I can talk about SEO for a very, very long time. So if you want to get on the phone with me and have me convince you that I know what to do with SEO, yeah, I'm going to be able to get that closed most of the time because I know how to do SEO. I have a path. We have systems. I know what I'm going to do first, second, third, et cetera, right? So that's why Upwork worked so well for me when I first started using it. Now, so if that's the type of person that you are, who's really good at talking about features, that's where Upwork really comes in. If you're not, well, we have the Facebook ads challenge, and then you're going to be able to run those ads. We were getting phone calls with local business owners for under 20 bucks a call. It was like $10 to $20 a call with like a 30 to 40% close rate. And we had a good offer, a decent guy on the phone. I was not taking those calls, right? I just said like that I don't do that type of call very well, that type of sales call. So I had a sales guy I'd hired to do that. The great news is with that ad campaign, if you're not good at that type of call, hey, it's 20 bucks a call. So if you spend 300 bucks, you're going to do 15 of those calls. And as you do more reps, as you practice, you're going to get better and better and better. And the good news is you're never going to talk to these people again. So, you know, if it ends up with them cussing you out or something, then that's fine. You know, just move on with your life. You don't have to talk to them again. All right. So that's two methods. A third method is takes a lot longer, right? But you know, my YouTube channel, I've been able to get quite a few clients from that. But you know, the downside of that is that I spent probably a year or so regularly publishing videos where no one watched the videos except my video editor and my mom. I kept having 2 views on every video and I knew who they were. But eventually, if you pay attention to the analytics, if you pay attention to the data, you can get better and better at scripting it, about, you know, getting to the point, about how you tell a story in the video, and then you start to get more views, more attention, et cetera, et cetera. But that takes time. That's really hard to do. Another approach that we've used is cold email. And this isn't like buy a list of 10,000 email addresses and just blast them out randomly. This is like, you know, record a short, like find a handful, 5 to 10 businesses that you're going to reach out to, record a Loom video about that specific business you're going to reach out to. And honestly, the easiest way to do this is, you know, say you're a plumber, search for like plumber Fort Wayne, Indiana, right? Fort Wayne, Indiana is my go-to example of a reasonable mid-sized city in the United States that's just very generic. If you're from Fort Wayne, sorry, but it's just a generic random city. So go to Fort Wayne, search for a plumber, and start to look for people who are ranked 10th or worse. And then just record a Loom video about their website and talk them through what they're doing wrong and how you would fix it, right? Most of the time, when you see someone in these small little dots of towns that aren't ranked very well, they've screwed up some basic things, right? Their homepage title tag is the word home. Okay, Destiny probably know. We've looked at thousands of local business websites. The most common homepage title tag on a local business website is the word home, which, what are you doing, right? So like very simple things like this, the homepage title tag, the GBP primary categories, is there local business schema? Is there a Google Maps embed on the homepage? Just very simple, easy to knock out stuff. Record the loom, walk them through those types of things, show them their rank map, right? Both LeadSnap and most other rank map tools will let you run rank maps on any GBP you want. So show them their rank map and show them the rank map of their biggest competitors, right? Most of the people who start local businesses are very competitive people. So lean into that. Show them how they're getting their ass kicked. Sorry, I shouldn't swear. Show them how they're getting their butt kicked by their other competitors in the area by giving them, here's your rank map. Here's your competitor's rank map. Here's some quick things that you should fix if you want to rank higher. And then here's the end of the video. Offer to make those fixes for them for free. That's why you only focus on things that take 10 minutes to do. You'll get maybe a 5 to 10% response rate. But if you're setting this to 5 or 10 businesses a day, that's a couple of responses a week. Make the fixes for free, rerun the rank map. It usually will get better if maybe it takes a week or two. So rerun the rank map in a week or two, get the rank map better now that you've fixed the homepage title tags, stuff like that. Show them the new one, and then say, the next steps are X, Y, and Z. Here's how much I would charge to do that for you. Okay? But you're starting by giving them value. You're starting by showing them that you can move the needle. Almost everyone who hires an SEO company has hired marketing companies before, and most of them didn't have a great experience. Unfortunately, we're working in an industry full of snake oil salesmen. Okay, I'm going to move on. I could talk about that question for hours, but I will move to the next one. Okay, Cash asks, how would you do it if you had to start again today? All right, so another great question. So what I'm going to do in August is I'm going to start over. Not really, but in August, I'm going to start a 10K challenge. So I'm going to give myself 3 months to build an SEO agency from scratch, not leveraging my YouTube channel, where I'm going to build it from scratch to 10K without any sales calls in 3 months. And I have a couple of ideas how to do this. I'm pretty excited about it. So if you want to know what I would do if I was starting over, I would do what I'm going to do in August. And I'm going to do the whole thing live and on camera. So it's not going to be like heavily edited videos. It's not going to be like a course or some shit like that. Oh man, I cursed again. It's not going to be a course or anything like that. I'm literally just going to have a Zoom link. We're going to do it like this. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to do it live on camera, step by step, how to build this agency coming in August. So I won't answer that anymore. Bart, how you doing, man?
Hi, I'm doing fine. Thanks. Thanks for having me here. I love this community. I have a question because I've been going through the content in the free SEO mastery course, AI SEO mastery course, but my niche are restaurants. And
Gotcha.
yeah, I mean, it sounds a bit complicated, like the 30 course structure. I love going deep into stuff, but I'm wondering if this isn't just a case of overkill because, these restaurants sometimes, they talk about, lunch menus or dinner menus, or sometimes they use or they rent out their restaurant like an event location, but that's it basically.
So the secret is, right, behind the core 30. The core 30 is overkill for 90% of businesses around the United States, right? If you're in Houston, then you're going to need the core 30, and you're probably going to need a bunch of supporting content on top of that, answering people also ask questions. Most of us aren't working with SEO clients in Houston, right? If you are, kudos, but you're probably not on this stream. Most of the time, and this is what we say, right, is we're using the core 30 to build topical relevance. So while we're building that out, we're going to watch the rank map. And for most clients that we work with, the rank map turns green before we finish building the core 30. And when that happens, then we stop building the core 30, right? Why are we going to keep adding relevance if the rank map is green? Unless I want to extend the radius or something like that, right? And if the rank map starts to look like half green, boy, I might shift from building topical relevance to building geographical relevance, so that I don't really need to focus on continuing to build topical relevance like this. So for a restaurant, I agree, right? You're probably not going to need all 30, but neither do most businesses. But you will want a bunch of services. You can build out individual pages about the different, like the dinner menu, the lunch menu, build out your core trust with the local links, and just keep an eye on your rank map. Obviously, restaurant city is going to be much harder to rank for than whatever subtype of restaurant you have. Like, right, if you're Italian restaurant city is usually going to be much, much easier to rank for. Again, depending on what city you're in and how wide your range is. So even for a restaurant, I would still start with that same framework, but stop when the rank map shows that I have enough topical relevance. Yeah. Okay. So and Destiny is catching them in order. If it sounds weird, I'm going from the hand raises to the people who ask questions. But okay, Abe, you're up next. What's going on, man?
Hey Caleb, how you doing?
Great, just great. How are you, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Okay, so
All
my
right.
question is this, right? For a PI attorney, I work with a lot of PI. I'm
Ooh,
one of the
all
guys
right.
who is here, so in this thing. So PI attorney, I want to see, I know I looked at your few PI attorney in Texas that you built. You got a template for local location landing page?
I mean, I don't know what you mean by template. Like, I don't have like
So you
templates
have
in the
you
training,
have
but
you
templates
have
are kind of
you have a couple
commoditized, so
of
they're not usually
example
super
references
interesting.
of PI attorneys where you built out a location landing page to match the GMBs.
Yeah, but it's the
Or
same for the PI attorney as for any other GBP primary category, right? You're just going to have 75 to 100 words about each of your secondary categories. For a PI attorney, I've worked with several, so 3 or 4 secondary categories make a lot of sense, like civil law attorney. I can't remember off the top of my head some of the other ones, but 75 to 100 words about each one. Then you'll focus on the number one service that they really, really care about. For the one that's, for most of the ones I work with, that's going to be something like car wreck attorney. And that's going to be more like a service, but we'll actually re-theme the civil attorney to be car wreck. So we'll use that as a secondary category anyway. But anyway, so then 75 to 100 words about each one of those secondary categories, link from that paragraph to the secondary category, and then just start building it out, building it out, building it out. All the different services, which is going to be all the different case types that you care about, like the 18-wheeler wrecks, the motorcycle wrecks. We live on the Gulf Coast, so it's going to talk about maritime accidents and just keep building out all this service stuff. But the big thing for PI that's a little bit different from most local businesses is they need a lot more trust than most other local businesses. So that's why I said for a lot of PI attorneys, I'll join half a dozen, even a dozen chambers of commerce to build up that level of trust and sponsor every single 9-year-old girls softball team that I can find looking for sponsors. So yeah, but
and the
it's the same
structure,
basic framework. You just have to do a lot more of it because PI is so competitive.
so the structure you have is state, county, city, that order, right?
No, just city. It's personal injury attorney is almost always the primary category. So the GBP landing page and almost every scenario is primary category city name. So it's going to be personal injury attorney, New Orleans, or whatever
Right,
city you're in.
and you're putting it right to the domain, right? No subfolders.
Well, so if it's a single location, then straight to the domain. If it's a second or third GBP, then we don't want to have multiple GBPs sharing a landing page. So then we're going to create multiple landing pages for each one. I don't care even a little bit about URL structure, mainly because Google doesn't. So when we start to talk about subfolders or slugs, don't care. But you could do like domain / secondary city. You could just slash, home landing page, whatever. But the slug doesn't matter. The URL structure doesn't matter.
As long as the H1 and H2s and all are flowing in the order of what they want.
Exactly. And the H1 and the title tag are going to be primary category city name. And then you're going to have an H2 for each of the secondary categories, maybe one for a crazy good service that they really, really care about.
What are your thoughts about varying your URL from the H1 to the title?
Don't care about URLs. What are you talking about? I just said I don't care about
I'm talking
URLs.
about when you have the keyword in the URL, the same keyword in the H1s and same keyword in the title,
Yep.
Usually, that's a little too over optimized. You vary that around. No, doesn't
No,
matter.
well, I mean, we use the exact match primary category city name in, I mean, usually not in the URL because it's going to be the homepage, but in a multi-location, it'll be in the URL also. But like the title tag won't be personal injury attorney New Orleans, right? It'll have other things in there, but it will include the words personal injury attorney New Orleans because that's the target keyword. The H1, same. We're going to include the target keyword, but we'll have other stuff in there too, right? For the title tag, especially if you're going for organic, then we want people to click on it. So we're going to put brackets, we're going to put parentheses, we're going to put numbers in there. All of those improve click-through rates.
As long as the stringing technique where strings of words together comes to the same, or long-term searches, long tails.
I'm not following.
Like, you have different words on the title, right? But if you read that, you can form different keyword terms that are similar to long tails.
Yeah, but all we're looking for the keywords for the GBP landing page, primary category city name. That's the target keywords for that URL. We don't need to worry about any other keywords or long tail keywords. We don't need to worry about any of that stuff. We just want to make sure that the title tag and the H1 include the exact match for the target keyword, primary category city name. And you want to put other words on there too, but we're not trying to target other keywords with those other words. We're just trying to make it feel more natural to a user because, personal injury attorney New Orleans feels kind of spammy as the H1 and as the title tag.
Correct. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Virgil asks, with the local chamber of commerce, what do they need on their website to give you a link? When getting a link, how should the URL look like? So getting a link from the local chamber of commerce, right? Each one is different, and definitely check on some of them. Some of them use like weird types of links, where they'll use like a JavaScript pop-up link or something that doesn't really pass any SEO authority. Some of them are going to use a no follow tag. I don't join those types of chambers, right? I don't want to join a chamber and get a no follow link. So definitely check on their directory for how they put their link in and what it looks like. Because you want a do follow plain text HTML editorial link. And what they need is different for every one. Usually, it's just going to be like business name, size of business, because that changes the fee, and then whoever the contact is. I'll put my name or my employee's name as the contact, and then fill it out with the business information. The important thing is that the business name is exact match to the GBP. That helps ChatGPT, and we want to make sure that the URL is the GBP landing page. Perfect. All right. Let me just get a drink of water. All right. Don, what's going on?
Well, thank
There you
you.
go.
Caleb, can you hear me?
Sure can. Yep, you unmuted. Good.
Okay, good. Thanks. Well, I'm helping my real estate client, and that's my niche because I used to be a realtor. So I think I pretty much have the the topical map done. Main category is the homepage. Then it has secondary categories as other pages, and under each secondary category is services that are related to that secondary category. I think I put it so I pretty much followed your map basically. I just have a couple of questions. In your video you mentioned to create some backlinks for every page you create. Is that true?
Yes. If you create content and you post it on your website without a link, Google will usually view that as AI generated slop.
So, okay, so when I create a backlink for, let's say, service pages, etc.,
Yep.
what kind of backlink is okay? Like, is it Medium, Live Journal, social media?
So usually for most of those links, what we do at my agency is we source a PBN link, which stands for Private Blog Network. So yeah, I mean, they're not awesome quality links, but they don't need to be because we're not using these links to build trust. We're just using these links as a signal to Google that this isn't AI generated slop.
Okay, so all right, that I totally understand now. So just make sure the link is out there. It doesn't have to be a trusted source or anything.
Exactly.
to that. And the
Yep.
Google Posts, like for instance, for real estate agents, do a mixture of services and locations, like location-based stuff for Google
Yeah,
Posts.
location-based stuff can work really well.
Mhm.
And not to keep plugging LeadSnap, but one thing that LeadSnap does that's pretty cool is it can geotag images, and they're actually rolling out a feature where it can geotag images specific to points on your rank map that aren't in the top 3, and then you can post those images as GBP posts. I don't know how helpful that is for actually ranking, but it sounds really good in theory. Yeah.
I'm writing
Per-
that down, lead snap.
Yeah. And Virgil actually asked, does posting under GBP help with rankings? So, I mean, I would say, right, posting under GBP, it's not like it's going to move you from 20th to 3rd, right? It's a pretty small improvement, but it also takes like 5 minutes to do a year's worth of GBP posts. So just do it, right? There's no reason not to. It's very quick, very easy. Just do it. All right, cool. Is that it, Don? You got your hand still up. No problem. He vanished. I'm guessing that means he's good.
No,
All
I'm
right.
here. I'm here. I lowered my hand, but is it possible to send you something through Destiny told me I might be able to send something through the school community, something to
Yeah,
look
yeah, yeah.
over
If you
the map.
post in the school group,
Okay. Yeah.
I try to answer every question. I do miss a couple. It's pretty busy in there sometimes. But if I miss yours and I haven't answered it in a day or two, reply to it and tag me. Then I'll see it. And that's usually like I try to answer all the questions in that school group. So that's usually the best way to get a longer, more detailed question. Yeah, perfect. All right, Joshua, what's going on?
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Should be a quick question. Just on the secondary categories, listing all the services. What is there an ideal type of hyperlink to those services? Can it just be a button for each section, or does it need to be a specific anchor?
So usually we use editorial links, like content, just a word that functions as the anchor text in the paragraph of text. You can use buttons if you want to, but usually like those paragraphs of text for all of the categories or services, it's obviously not going to be a wall of text, right? You don't want to post a wall of text. So like an image and some text and then image and text, so it goes back and forth. You know what I'm talking about. So you can do buttons if you want to. We usually don't. We usually just do editorial links, like content, plain HTML links.
Okay, got it. So just kind of keep it kind of simple there. Okay.
Yeah. Simple often works very, very well, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Mark asked, does the location of the Google map on the homepage matter? Is it better or worse to have it above the fold? Or usually we put it close to the bottom. I mean, I haven't tried embedding the GBP I haven't tried embedding the map above the fold because your above the fold real estate is so valuable that what we really want to see above the fold is some, generic hero image. We want to see the H1. We want to see a click to call phone number button. Maybe a form fill if you're a business that runs a lot of form fills, might want to see that above the fold. But I'm usually not going to put the GBP embed above the fold. That's usually much lower on the page than above the fold. The GBP embed it's also an iframe embed. I think someone asked me, I think it was Joshua who's there, asked me about it in one of the school groups, if it being an iframe is okay, and that's what Google shows. That's what Google wants to see. The reason for the GBP embed is just we want as much evidence as possible to feed Google that this website belongs to this GBP, right? So, obviously the GBP landing page, but then the website structure matches the GBP. The website pages match the categories and services of the GBP. We have local business schema that matches the GBP. We have the reviews embedded that match the GBP reviews. And we have the GBP map itself embedded on the landing page. We want as much as possible to hit Google over the head that this website belongs to this GBP. They're consistent, they're trustworthy, because, right, Google has been trying to do this for 25 odd years, and now ChatGPT is trying to do it. What it fundamentally is trying to do is solve this problem, and it's not a small problem. How do you decide if this third-party business, you have no idea who they are, you've never heard of them, how do you decide if it's trustworthy enough to send your users to them, right? Because that's what Google is doing. You're Google's user, and it has decided which businesses are trustworthy enough to send you to those businesses. Same exact problem that ChatGPT is solving, which honestly is why there's a lot of overlap between Google Rank and ChatGPT recommendations, because they're solving the same problem. Based only on information available online, how do you decide which businesses are the most trustworthy? And one big signal is that this website is perfectly consistent with this GBP, right? And, you know, all these local sponsorships and Chamber of Commerce, a lot of you are probably familiar with the concept of lead gen. Lead gen, people who are doing lead gen usually don't bother with all of these like hyper local links. They don't bother sponsoring the 9-year-old girls softball team in Fort Wayne, Indiana. The people who do that are real local businesses who care about their reputation in the local community, and they want to get that plaque with the photo of all the girls wearing the neon green softball uniform hung up in their reception area, right? That's who's sponsoring those local sports teams. So that's why it works so freaking well, because the real trustworthy businesses, which is what you're trying to emulate. Hopefully you are a real trustworthy business, but even if you're not, you're trying to emulate a real trustworthy business. That's why it works so well, because those are the businesses that are doing this. Okay. All right. Boy, is he gone? Mark had his hand raised. Did you get your, oh, there you are, Mark. Did you get
answered
your
it.
question answered?
You answered it in the chat about the Google Business Map.
Perfect. I'm sure I didn't. Maybe Destiny answered in the chat. Good job, Destiny. Thank you. See what I said? She's amazing. All right, Cash, what's going on?
Hey Caleb, I was the kid that just answered asked a question about the client acquisition and the YouTube.
I
I'd just
recommend.
join.
I recognize. Yes.
Yeah, quickly. I just wanted to ask, if you were trying to rank a local company that was trying to sell leads, how would you break the SEO budget? If you had a 2 to 3K budget, whereas if you had nothing, what would be the difference in how you would do SEO if there was any difference?
Right. So the way whenever we send a proposal with a price estimate, we always price based on scope of work, right? And that's just something I've always believed in. The problem with a lot of SEO companies is that it's kind of this like black box pricing where they'll say, pay me this much money per month and we'll get you ranked. But then the customer never really knows what you're doing, never really knows if it's successful or not. So if you don't have any ranking results, you're going to get fired. So we always tend toward scope-based pricing. So I know my agency's cost structure. So when we send out a proposal for pricing, it's going to be, we're going to do 10 articles a month or 20 articles a month, whatever their budget is. And each article is going to cost a certain amount of money. And the number of articles that I'm proposing is going to be based on what their budget is. In the first month, there's a bunch of things that we do that we don't do again, right? We do a GBP review, we do a GBP landing page optimization, we do a content gap analysis, and we might source out a couple of these high trust, high power links, depending on what they need and where they're located in. So the way I count for that, I don't give them a bigger number in the first month because clients hate that. So I reduce the number of articles that we're going to do in the first month so that I still say whole. So an example would be, say I was $300 an article was going to be my bid, my estimate. So then I would say, okay, we'll do 10 articles a month. So we're going to do SEO for you, and it's going to be $3,000 a month. We'll do 10 articles. And what I mean when I say we'll do 10 articles, right? We're obviously going to write the content, but that's easy. We're going to check the content with an AI detector to make sure it doesn't score too high. We're going to have my developer actually post the content. My developer or my employee is actually also going to go in and update internal links. So to make sure we have internal links pointing to the new content, we're going to source external link to the new content. We're going to double check everything to make sure it works well. The images are optimized, all of that. Okay. So that's what we do when I say post an article. There's a lot more involved in it. So then if I say, man, you know what? They're in a larger city or they're fairly competitive. So I want to join a couple chambers of commerce. I have to do all this GBP stuff. So for the first month, maybe I say I'm going to do 2 articles for month 1 and 10 articles month 2 and beyond, right? So that gives me 8 articles, which is $2,400. So that gives me $2,400 in month 1 that I can spend on other things. So I can do my GBP review, my GBP landing page optimization. I can join a couple chambers of commerce, maybe sponsor the girls softball team, and charge a flat rate while doing everything that I need to do to actually get improvement. And the real focus, right, especially for getting a long-term client. And I know we've talked about this at other calls, but usually in my experience, if somebody stays with me for 6 months, they're probably going to stay with me for 6 years, right? So I'm really trying to make sure they stay with me for 6 months. So the first few months are critical, obviously, to get them to stick around for 6 months, right? So that's why, you know, the GBP review and send them the results immediately, the GBP landing page and send them the results, the content gap and send them the results. I'm never going to want them to wait more than a few days without hearing from me, especially in the first month, because if they pay you money, like if they give you $3,000 and then in 4 weeks you send them all of this work that you just did, they're going to spend the next 3.5 weeks wondering if you're actually working on their website or watching Game of Thrones reruns, right? So you definitely want to like maintain a super high level of communication with them, especially for the first month. The other thing that we really, really like to do to reduce churn rate in those first few months, we want to give them early wins, right? And that's a little bit tough for SEO, but we could potentially run some Google ads or Facebook ads to get them some early wins. Or another really good one, a lot of local businesses have really long lists of clients, right? They've been in business for 10 years. They've been serving, right, 30 or 40 clients a year, maybe more customers a year. So they have this list of 500 client customers, and they don't have any systems in place to reach out to them, to let them know anything, to let them know about specials or deals. So we have a prompt that we use. We'll give AI to come up with some ideas for sort of a reactivation, a list reactivation. We can create a high-level sub-account form, which is free if you're on the unlimited high-level plan. And then we can load in their customer list and then just start sending texts, maybe emails with this reactivation just to get them some early calls. Because man, if you can generate a bunch of calls early on for a brand new client, man, they're going to stick around for quite a bit longer versus if they wait. Plus, of course, as I mentioned earlier, just show them that rank map, because even with these like fairly quick, easy fixes, like the homepage title tag update, you'll see them move up often, 10 positions, depending on where they were and how bad their title tag was, just by fixing little issues like that. And when that happens, send them a note, right? Or, do the citations and then ask ChatGPT for its recommendation in their local area. And if ChatGPT recommends them, screen cap that and email that to the client. Hey, look what we just got. We got ChatGPT to be able to recommend you here. So a lot of that early stuff, the first few months, is just, quick wins, get them calls, make sure they know you're doing stuff. And the goal is to get them to that 6th month, because once they get 6 months, they'll probably be around for 6 years.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. And my last question just before it was how would you do SEO with zero budget? So if you were just starting up and you didn't have crazy money to spend on loads of the best apps and whatever.
Yeah, good question. And that's basically what I mean. When I first started my SEO agency, this is a minute ago, I did it with basically no budget, because I find it's much easier to bring team members on board to do work for you if you know what they're actually doing, right? So if I had no budget whatsoever, then, well, I mean, hopefully I at least have $20 a month so that I can sign up for the premium version of Claude. Claude is excellent at content writing. I find it to be much better than ChatGPT, even better than ChatGPT 4.5 subjectively, but I like it, so we use it. So hopefully I have $20 a month to sign up for Claude. Otherwise, I'm going to have to write things by hand, and man, that would suck. But that would be the first thing. And then remember, we need a link to every single source. So there are ways that you can do free link building. It takes an insane amount of time, and I won't get into the methods here, but basically you still need to source a link to every one. So you'll probably need some sort of third-party tool that can find links. Some of them can be inexpensive, SEMrush, Majestic, Moz. There are free versions of these tools also. And just look at not just your local competitors, but look at your local competitors. Also, my go-to, if I want to see like some quality links or quality structure, my go-to city is Houston. And the reason for that is Houston is the largest city in the United States that is primarily single family residences, right? New York City, Chicago, LA, those are not a lot of single family residences. They have different demands, different needs than Fort Wayne, Indiana. Houston, pretty much the same as Fort Wayne, Indiana. So if you have a plumber, look at what this companies in Houston are doing. If you did that in Fort Wayne, you'll probably rank. So, run those link scraping tools on the top websites in Houston. Who is giving them links? Can you get links from those same places? It might involve writing extra content, cold outreach. Maybe I've seen it pretty common. Somebody's like has a high quality page that gets traffic and like a PayPal link. Give me $1 on PayPal and I'll add your link. Sure, here's your $1. Give me my link. Just stuff like that. Anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Thank you, everyone else, for being here. Thank you for those of you on YouTube. I really appreciate all of you coming and listening to this. A lot of fun. So any questions that comes up, we're going to do this again in 1 month. So we do it on the first Monday of every month. So we will see you on Monday, August 4th. Okay? You can join the school community. I'll put a link to the description if you're watching this on YouTube, if it's not already there. If you're in the school community, feel free to post questions, send me a message. I try to answer every question. I try to respond to every message. Again, if I miss, I apologize, but tag me, bump me again. If you're not in the school community, feel free to join. You have access to Modern SEO. You'll have access to actually be on the Zoom and ask me questions at this, and you'll be able to post in the school community itself where I answer all the questions. And with that, thanks again, everyone. We will see you